Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, if you're a parent, you have definitely wondered this. How in the world do I teach my kids about money? It's one of the most critical life skills, but there's no one-size-fits-all playbook. So today, we're going to build one, digging into how to raise a generation that's grounded, generous, and, actually financially savvy.
So here's our game plan. We're going to start with a TikTok famous dad whose pretty unique method for teaching rent went totally viral. Then we'll dive into the great allowance debate, learn a super simple spend, save, give framework, explore the new digital piggy banks that do a lot of the heavy lifting for you, and finally, we'll see exactly why all of this matters for a lifetime. All right, so it all kicked off with this dad from Texas named Michael Madden. He looked around, saw so many adults struggling with basic finances, and decided he wanted something way different for his 6-year-old daughter, Rose. And his little hands-on lesson didn't just teach her, it went viral.
And this quote right here, it's really the key to his entire approach. He had this light bulb moment that earning money is only half the equation. The other half is getting that a chunk of every single dollar you make is already spoken for.
Okay, so check this out. Here's how his system works in 4 pretty simple steps. First, Rose earns points for things like doing chores or just good habits. Once she hits a certain number of points, she gets paid in actual cash. But, and this is the part that got everyone talking, she immediately has to pay 20% of it back to her dad for rent. It's only the money that's left over that's actually hers to budget.
But here's the secret. The real genius behind this rent thing. Michael isn't actually pocketing her money. No way. He's putting that 20% into a savings account that's just for her. The whole process is just a really clever real-world simulation to teach that huge lesson. The money you see in your paycheck isn't all yours.
And let me tell you, this idea didn't just get a little attention. It hit a major nerve. We're talking almost 7 million views on TikTok, which just proves that parents everywhere are struggling with this exact thing. It started this massive conversation. Some people loved it, some hated it, but it got everyone talking.
So, that viral story? It plugs right into this classic parenting dilemma, the great allowance debate. Michael's system ties money directly to chores, but if you ask the experts, they're actually pretty divided on whether that's the best way to go.
This is really the heart of the matter, right? Should allowance be a wage for work done around the house? Or should it be more like a teaching tool, something kids get no matter what, just so they can learn to manage it?
You've really got 2 main schools of thought here. One camp says, look, chores are just part of being in a family, so allowance should be totally separate. It's strictly for learning how to budget. But the other camp argues that linking them is absolutely essential for teaching the most basic economic lesson there is. You work, you get paid.
Therapist Dr. Emily Edlin, she's firmly in the keep 'em separate camp, and her reasoning is pretty powerful. She says if the whole point of allowance is to teach financial skills, what happens when your kid just decides not to do their chores? Well, they don't get paid, and the money lesson goes right out the window. She even warns that some kids might just find other ways to make money and skip their chores altogether.
But what if you could have the best of both worlds? Well, a really popular solution is this. You offer a basic guaranteed allowance that's just for practice. And then you can offer bonus chores, things like washing the car or raking leaves for extra cash. That way, they learn about contributing to the family, and they learn that going the extra mile literally pays off.
And if you're kind of stuck on how much to give, author Ron Lever has this super simple rule of thumb. Give somewhere between 50 cents and $1 per year of your child's age, each week. So for a 10-year-old, that's maybe $5 to $10 a week. It's a great, no-fuss place to start.
All right, so they've got some money in their hands, or maybe in an app. Now what? What do you actually teach them to do with it? This is where a really simple, memorable framework comes into play. It's the classic spend, save, give model. The whole idea is to teach kids right from the start that money has different jobs. You can use 3 jars or digital buckets in an app to show them that some of their money is for right now, some is for later, and some is for helping others. It makes the whole idea of budgeting visual and, intentional. And look, underneath all of these strategies, there's one core concept: needs versus wants. This is the absolute foundation.
Teaching them that essentials, like food and a roof over their head, have to be covered before you can even think about buying extras, like a new video game, well, that lesson is the bedrock of financial responsibility for life.
Now, to make these lessons actually stick, kids need practice. And you don't always have to use their allowance. Here's a great tip. Give them the budget you would have spent on their back-to-school supplies anyway, and let them make the choices. It's also so important to let them make small mistakes. If they blow their whole budget, don't bail them out. Seriously, experiencing that feeling of having no money left is a lesson a lecture can never, ever teach.
Okay, I know what you might be thinking. Cash, jars, keeping track of chores. This sounds like a lot of work, right? Well, we live in a digital world now, and a whole new bunch of tools have popped up to make these lessons way easier and a lot more relevant.
So let's just take a quick look at a few of the big players. GoHenry and Greenlight are probably the two biggest. They're basically apps with kid-friendly debit cards that let you automate allowance and set spending controls. GoHenry is all about gamified lessons, while Greenlight is known for its cool, customizable cards. And then there are even free platforms like FitMoney, which is a whole curriculum that turns financial ed into a fun game.
So, no matter which app you end up looking at, here's what you really want to look for. Strong parental controls, obviously for your own peace of mind, and real-time spending alerts. That way, you can have those teachable moment conversations right when they happen. The best apps also automate everything and use fun tools like savings goal trackers and quizzes to keep your kids engaged.
So after all this, you might be wondering, is it really worth all the effort to start this stuff so young? Well, the data doesn't just say yes, it pretty much screams it. The long-term payoff from these early lessons is honestly staggering.
Let's just start with a quick reality check here. A recent survey found that half of all parents are still financially supporting their adult children, and they're spending nearly $1,500 a month doing it. That's a huge sign that there is a major gap in financial preparedness out there. But here's the good news. The benefits? They're just as massive. The FDIC has found a direct link between early financial education and much better outcomes in adulthood. We're talking about a future generation that could have less debt, more savings, and higher credit scores. These simple childhood lessons create a powerful ripple effect. And this quote, man, it just gets right to the heart of why we're even talking about this. This isn't just about managing a few bucks of allowance. It's about teaching responsibility, delayed gratification, and critical thinking. We're giving our kids the tools they need to build a future with way more freedom and a lot less stress. So hopefully, they don't have to learn these lessons the hard way. Look, the big takeaway here isn't that you need some perfect, complicated system to get started. It can start with a simple question at the grocery store, a talk about a toy they really want, or just exploring one of these apps together. You know that old saying, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago? The second best time is now. It's exactly like that. Thanks for watching.